For over 100 years, Rotary members have taken action when challenges arise. We know what people can do when they come together and put others before themselves.
The team lead said they will continue the campaign to fight against the coronavirus.
Local Rotary clubs deliver food and supplies to people in need.
Strangers become friends, helping hands multiply, and problems turn into solutions. We are Rotary. We are people of action. Learn more at rotary.org/action.
Every Rotary project anywhere in the world always started out with one person who had an idea. And then they were able to grow and develop that idea by getting other Rotarians engaged and using that powerful network of Rotary to really change the world.
I want to make a difference, and I see Rotary as being the best vehicle worldwide to be able to make a difference to the community as a citizen of the world.
It's always a blessing to give back what you have received. Rotary is just a sweet place to be. The fellowship, the ability to serve. It's not about how old you are or how much you have.
We don't have to be Prime Minister to lead our country. Even one Rotarian can do lots of things.
People want to feel involved, and that's how they feel that they're actually contributing and giving something back to the society.
Every Rotarian's needs are different. And if we don't know what their needs are, then how are we going to fulfill them?
Right after someone gets in Rotary, you have to start fostering the opportunity for them to take a leadership role, whether they choose to or whether the club chooses them to.
You know, leader is a role model of everybody.
If you've got the heart, you're going to take your club forward in some fashion. And that's what it's really all about, all of us working together.
Teaching, leading, and then transferring the responsibility of what we are doing to them. The rewards are huge. The satisfaction's enormous. You know, I'm very proud to be a Rotarian.
Hello, family of Rotary. My name is Stephanie Yurchik, Rotary International Director for Zones 33 and 34, and I'm delighted that you have joined us for our June seminar on career development strategies. This series is part of a Zones 33 and 34 Rotary Works program, a program that offers professional and skill development seminars, coaching and mentoring, practice interviews, connecting, resources, posting and finding job opportunities, as well as small grants for financial stress due to career transitions. You can learn more by typing into your browser rotary.works. Our program today is one of the most important, if not the most important component of getting a job, changing jobs, moving up the ladder, or improving your career possibilities. Everybody knows that networking is an essential part of the job search process. In fact, studies continue to confirm that the lion's share of professional positions and jobs are actually secured through networking, not by looking at job boards. But during the pandemic, job seekers have been very limited in their ability to do in-person networking and interviewing. We've all had to learn new skills and to get more comfortable with virtual networking and virtual interviewing. So how are you supposed to leverage these new abilities in order to stand out and secure new work opportunities? In this special nuts and bolts session of Rotary Works, you're going to hear tips and insights from two experts, including a professional recruiter who interviews and hires people for a living, and an author and motivator who literally wrote the book on networking. You'll also gain networking and interviewing tips and tricks to help you be more successful in your job search. And as a bonus, everybody who's attending this live program today is going to be gifted a digital copy of the book, Networking Ahead, Get Where You Want to Go by Making Powerful Professional Connections. So now let me introduce our guest speakers. Kathy McAfee is known as America's marketing motivator. She works with organizations to help them build more robust, diverse leadership pipelines, and also works with individual professionals who want to be known as experts in their fields. She's the creator of the Fearless Leader Program and author of 4 books, including Networking Ahead and Defining You. Originally from California, she now resides in Greenville, South Carolina, with her husband, Byron. She's a member of the Greenville Rotary Club. Nancy Anton has over 15 years of corporate recruiting experience. She is currently a senior talent acquisitions partner for corporate offices at General Electric. Her firsthand experience with the hiring process lends a valuable view for those in transition. Known as the voice on recruiting, Nancy has been a speaker and trainer on many topics, from job search to hiring. Originally from Connecticut and now residing in Taylors, South Carolina, Nancy is a member of the Greenville Rotary Club. So to begin our program, Kathy, let's start with you and your perspective on networking.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Delighted to be with all of you here today, and we are going to just get right into it. Nancy and I will share our thoughts and insights on the strategies and best practices in networking so that you can have a more successful career, not just getting this next job that you're looking for, but all the jobs, all the work, the entire span of your career. So I'm going to start with the definition, my definition of networking. I believe networking is an art of building and sustaining mutually beneficial relationships before you need them. And it's the before you need them part that I think reminds us of the importance of doing it proactively, not reactively, like when we get laid off or we don't have a job. Of course, I always want you to start your networking immediately, but imagine if you never had to restart it because it was always ongoing. So that's how I think about networking. That's what I'm doing when I'm networking. But I'm also reminded that networking is a strategy. It's not just an event, like here we are at a Zoom learning meeting. This could be considered a networking event or an activity. But really, I want you to look at networking and this relationship building opportunity as the way you conduct yourself, as the way you live your life, as the way you're going to have a successful life and career and business and what the heck, and change the world for the better. So it's through people that we can accomplish great things. So if you ever start feeling a little squirrely, a little uncomfortable, having to meet someone new, just remember this is how you're building a successful life. So in my first section of this program today, I'm going to cover 4 things. How you can become more intentional and fearless when you network, how to expand your sphere of influence, how to communicate clearly who you are and what you seek, and also how to create a great lasting impression when you're networking and with the people in your network. So let's face it, we're all doing a lot of online networking because of the pandemic, and even that can make us feel a little intimidated. I mean, it takes a lot of courage, if you will, even just to turn your camera on or to show up online. But we've all had to muster the courage to do that. And so how do we do that more fearlessly? And I will also say intentionally. We seek to do this. And then, of course, as the pandemic starts to get under control around the world, we will be meeting with each other, maybe even without masks. We'll be sitting down with strangers, which, by the way, are just friends you haven't met yet. This could be at a Rotary meeting, at a luncheon, at an event. And it's always going to be a little awkward to talk to somebody you don't know yet. So I want to give you some courage to overcome that fear or hesitation or social reluctance that is just naturally a part of the networking process. So even raging extroverts on this call, including myself, do feel a little reluctance, a little fear, and I think that's healthy, but things that kind of stop us from being more fearless and intentional when we network with people. So let's just look at that topic of fear and the antidote of courage. So I'm showing you a quote from Franklin Roosevelt, one of our past presidents. He said, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than the fear." And I would suggest, and I'm sure you would agree, that your career is more important than the fear. Your contributions to the business world are more important than carrying that fear of networking. So when you feel that fear of networking, I want you to feel the fear and do it anyway. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And I'd like to share with you a little of the work that we do in the Fearless Leader program to help leaders, emerging leaders, hidden leaders, professionals, entrepreneurs, business owners, career professionals, bust through that fear so that they can accomplish their dreams and goals. And one of the things we study is the topic of courage. And it turns out there's not just one type of courage. There is a full spectrum of courage. And I had the wonderful opportunity to find this article online. I put the link in the base there. And if I could ask one of our hosts to just pop that in the chat box, that would be helpful. But this article was written by Alex Atkins. And I had the opportunity to call him. He was in California and network with a stranger. And he started to enlighten me on all the dimensions of courage. So we have physical courage, that kind of, risk bodily harm to perform your duties. Military, police, athletes. That's the kind of physical courage, self-defense that you have to muster in order to do your job and to survive. But there's also social courage. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that is. And I'm going to suggest to you that that's the one that we have to actually build up a muscle with when we network. There's intellectual courage, the ability and willingness to challenge ideas, to speak truth to power. There's moral courage, doing the right thing, even when no one's looking, being ethical. Emotional courage, being empathetic, being able to feel both the positive and the negative emotions when we're with people. And the spiritual courage, taking a leap of faith. And it doesn't have to be in a religious context, but exploring meaning and purpose. So all these are levels of courage. And when we network, you might have to actually bring all to bear. But I believe it's actually the social courage that we've got to build up a strength in. So social courage, as it relates to networking, could involve social embarrassment, exclusion, unpopularity, oh my God, rejection. Does that sound like something in the job search, natural part of that process? So just imagine and think of those times when maybe you have stuck your hand out to shake someone's hand and they didn't reciprocate, and your hand is sticking out there like a sore, you're so embarrassed. What do you do? This is just this awful moment. Social courage will allow you to put that hand down and just move on and not make that a big deal. Or let's say you walk into a room, an event, a conference, a Rotary meeting, and you see all these people that you don't know. And maybe you go up to approach somebody and they don't kind of let you in their circle. That feeling of exclusion can bring up a lot of fear and anxiety and prevent us even from walking up to those people. So we need to muster some social courage to break through that situation, to insert ourselves gracefully and naturally. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. We move on to the next opportunity with people. So social courage, I think, is the one that I would like you to be on the lookout for and to call it up within yourself. Because when you do that, you can network more fearlessly. And then you too can adopt the mantra of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and network, 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 online, in person. And we're going to talk more about where and when you can do that. All right, we're going to move on to our next learning goal, which is how do you expand your sphere of influence? Because that's what networking allows you to do. It allows you to grow a network and have more influence in the world. And that's important, that influence and also that sphere, and that it is built intentionally because it will help you advance your career. And in particular, the diversity of your professional network matters. And I'm quoting from Dr. Williams, who studies career development and networking and personal branding. And in one of his articles, he talked about the diversity of your professional network matters just as much as your own performance in influencing your ability to move up or across the organization. So let's just kind of cast our mind into the future. When you land that great new job, you're so excited, you're starting in that organization, you need to now build a diverse network in that new organization, even outside that organization. So you can't just stay working with the small group of people or even the division or the office or the location. You've got to expand your network across organizations, because that will help you in the future if you need to move to a new division, if you need visibility of someone to put you on a task force. And I can think of several lessons in my career where the lack of that diverse across enterprise network cost me a job. So I'm much more mindful of having many threads and diverse threads across that landscape, including the organization. So I do want you to intentionally build a diverse network. Don't find yourself and keep yourself surrounded by people who look and think just like you, whether they're in the same industry, they're the same gender, they're the same age, the same race, they're from the same town, they speak the same language. You want to build in diversity, cross-generational diversity, cross-race experience, industry expertise, countries. And fortunately, for those of you on the phone who are Rotarians or are thinking of becoming Rotarians, you have the opportunity to build a global network. And Rotary is a global, large network filled with dynamic, action-oriented, service-oriented people all around the world. And I believe one of those videos said 162 countries, or 169, I think it was. So imagine the opportunity that's before you because you have a common interest, a common experience. You are a Rotarian, they are a Rotarian. There is reason to reach out to them, and they are more likely to accept you because you have this shared experience. So I invite you to look not just at your own industry or market or community, but to look at the world as your oyster, the world as the potential place where you're going to build your network and increase your influence. And when that happens, we all have to have these beginnings with people, and it means we have to talk about ourselves. And so that brings up the third learning goal, which is how do you clearly communicate who you are, what you do, and what you're looking for. And so this question, you've heard it about 1,000 times, whether it's in a job interview or in a networking context. Tell me about yourself. And few of us have actually thought about how we're going to answer that question authentically, strategically, naturally. It's kind of a moment that creates a little fear, right? Or maybe you might think, well, do they want to hear my whole story? And believe me, I have actually given a 45-minute answer all about Kathy, which was a really good learning experience for me because that's not what they want to know. And it's not even what I want to tell them. So don't give people your whole life story, but imagine if you could actually tell them how you want to be perceived and what you are seeking. So kind of a present and future oriented version of yourself versus that historical side of everything you've done. That's kind of can be some of the boring stuff. So I want to talk to you now about the opportunity to introduce yourself more strategically, to position yourself more strategically. And that is all about and starts with defining you. It is really your personal brand. It's your value proposition, all these phrases you may have heard. And now I'm going to pull from the work of my other book called Defining You, which was co-authored by these two fabulous thought leaders, Henry DeVries and Mark LeBlanc. They are key members of my network, and we have actually worked together to produce this wonderful piece called Defining You. And one of the tools in Defining You is something called the defining paragraph. And I have found this to be so much more useful than a clever 30-second elevator pitch or something funny that I could say at a networking meeting, or I'm trying to stand out, so I say something outrageous. This is more grounded. This is foundational, strategic, and it causes you to get to know yourself and what you seek, as well as other people understanding who are you, what do you do, what value do you create, and what do you seek. So I would replace fancy and clever with strategic any day of the week. So this template has 7 parts, and here they all are. And I've learned by teaching this for a number of years that this looks easy, but it takes work, right? It's a process. So this framework starts with the simple stuff and ends with the simple stuff, your name and where you work or what your position is or what field you're in, 1 and 2. 7 is like, what do you do outside of work? Who are you personally? Tell me something personal about you. And that's that connective glue. So that's 1, 2, and 7. The stuff in the middle is where you really need to spend some time. You get in the defining paragraph the opportunity to share with someone 2 areas of your expertise. 2 pieces of signature work, of things you love to do that you're really good at and that you want more of. This is that idea of what do you seek. So when you decide what you're going to share in parts 3 and 4, your areas of expertise, don't tell them things you do well but hate doing. Don't do it because you're going to get more of it. Tell them what you do well and what you want more of. So those are decisions you need to make. Number 5 is a credibility statement, which is give me one piece of evidence that you're not making this up. Why should I believe you? But not everything, not your whole resume, just one factoid. You'll see that in an example. And then 6 also takes a little work and a little understanding of the value that you create in the world. It's not your job description, it's not your duties, it's not the tasks you perform, but it's the impact of those tasks and duties. It's the outcome that you generate. So you got to find out from the external world, how did I make things easier for you? What were you able to do because we worked together? Those are some of the questions that you can ask to uncover your value statement or proposition. So what would something like this look like? So I'm just going to share with you mine. My name is Kathy McAfee, and I'm known as America's Marketing Motivator. I work with organizations who want to strengthen and diversify their leadership pipelines and invest in their hidden leaders. In my role as executive coach, I facilitate the Fearless Leader Program, a cohort-based learning experience designed to help professionals get their businesses, careers, and lives back on track. I've authored 4 business books, including Networking Ahead, and I'm actually in the process of writing my manuscript for my 5th book, which will be on the topic of fearless leadership. As a result of my work, clients tell me that they feel more confident, more self-aware, more influential, and more connected at work and life. And on a personal note, I am a 10-year ovarian cancer survivor, and the mantra that I have for my life is a fierce urgency for now. Tell me about yourself. All right, so that's my example. I want to show you how it can be used and how I use it. I use it on my LinkedIn profile, and I use it in something called the About statement. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably haven't discovered it. The About statement is your personal first-person voice. Here's who I am. Let's connect. And if you don't have one, you're missing a huge opportunity. And if you've written yours in the third-person voice, like a resume, a skilled professional with skills in this, that, and the other, she has done this, that, and the other, don't write it like a resume, because LinkedIn is a professional networking site, and you want to connect one person at a time. So if you write it in the first-person voice, just like I did with the defining paragraph, you're going to find you're going to get a lot more connections and conversations going. All right. I'm going to move to the 4th learning goal, which is how do you create and keep a strong impression, a lasting impression? It occurred to me that your last interaction would be your last impression. So we always have to be mindful of making sure that the impression we're leaving is how we want to be seen and viewed. And when it comes to networking, I put in the things that I believe, and I put them in this word cloud, triangle shape, which is my favorite personal shape. It's a shape of change. It's the delta. The things that rose to the top were be a connector and be helpful. There's lots of other things. Be positive, stay in touch, be yourself, be curious, listen, all the things we can do to make a good impression. But to me, the 2 things that stand out that are the most important in my book is being a connector and always being helpful and being of service. So let's look at being helpful and being of service, because as Rotarians, we're all about service above self. So I've created a thought, a mantra. I've said this for years, and I just realized this is kind of a formula that when you put people and ideas and share resources, when you mix all that up, you create opportunities for yourself and for other people. And that, to me, is the spirit of networking, helping others and being helped. So whenever I go to a networking event, opportunity, conversation, I like to think about who can I connect, what ideas can we exchange, and what resources can I share. Like today, I'm sharing with all of you a free copy of my book, Networking Ahead. It's a resource I've created. Why wouldn't I do that? It's easy for me to do that, and it might change your life or someone else in your network's lives. So think about that. This is how you create value in your networking. The other way is to be a connector and offering introductions and connecting people actively is one of the ways you are going to be a rock star in the networking experience. So who do you know that needs to know somebody else? And there is a way of facilitating these that makes it easy and natural, and you're going to develop your own way of doing it. But these are some of the sentence starters or thoughts that I might say if we were to be networking on a coffee chat. Have you met Nancy Anton? I'd be happy to introduce you to her. Let me introduce you to Nancy. Let me do that on LinkedIn or another means that's convenient for both of you. Or the ultimate question, who are you looking to meet? It's amazing how many people don't have an answer to that question, that obvious question. So we need to be thinking about who we want to meet, because it allows people to tap their mental Rolodex. And then how can I get you connected in this, whether it's a business unit, company, association, community, Rotary Club? Like, how can I get you connected? And then the other person can help you, and then you can make it happen. So your ability to put people together and to get them talking creates value for you, makes you a master connector. And let me just show you what happened this week that I didn't ask for, but is a perfect example of doing that proactively. And this was from my colleague and speaker in about 5 minutes. It's coming over to you, Nancy Anton. She sent a LinkedIn message to me. I took a snapshot. It's a little blurry, but you get the idea. To one of her colleagues in GE. She's a Hampshire. And she says, hey, Shiza and Kathy. Kathy is very active in the Hispanic community and is all around a great networking contact. A dear friend of mine too. Shiza and I work together here at GE. She's in Boston, and she's looking for more ways to work in the Hispanic community. You may enjoy knowing each other. Please connect if you like. And what a lovely invitation. And there's some reasons why she's putting us together. We have a shared interest. And immediately I jumped on it, and Shiza responded, and we are booked for a virtual networking call, thanks to Nancy. So another great example, not sure, I think Nancy just does this naturally. She thinks about people that should meet, and then she makes it happen. You too can develop that skill and that proficiency. But you also need to ask for connections, because being a connector, you can't just give. You also have to receive, but you got to know how to ask for it. So when asking for connections, what are you going to say? How are you going to say it? And I want to go to point 3 on this slide, because this is the most crucial one. Who in your network should I speak with next? This is an idea that after every networking interaction, you've met someone, you've had a conversation, you've built rapport, you don't leave it just there. That person has a network that they could then extend to you. They could loan you their social capital, and you could loan them your social capital. So we want to ask for it, at least ask the question, because some people like Nancy will automatically think of it. You don't even have to ask, but others just don't have that way of working in their brain. So we want to prompt it. Or let's move up to number 2 on this slide. You start that great job, you're getting underway. And in addition to finding where the bathroom is, you need to know who you need to know. So you might ask your manager or your peer, who are the 5 people in this division that I need to know to be successful in this work? Can you introduce me? So who and how? All right. Or maybe you know who you're trying to reach. You know a specific person's name. I'm trying to connect with Stephanie. She runs the Rotary Works. Do you know Stephanie, or do you know someone who knows Stephanie, and could you introduce me? Because I think I'd like to be a speaker. So if you can say a specific name and a reason why, then people will be on the lookout for you. So these are some of the ways that I have been able to muster the courage and to calmly and confidently ask for connections and to allow people to help me. All right. Speaking of helping people, the next step before I turn this over to Nancy is I want you to read the book. It's gifted to you. It's in PDF reader format. There's lots of practical, tactical things. Find the chapter that interests you, read it, and put something into action. So that is my gift and my ask of you. And now I will turn it over not only to my colleague, but to my friend, who, by the way, I met in networking through somebody else. Nancy Anton, recruiter, staffing professional. I've seen her in action. I've seen her coach other people. She's extraordinary. She is the voice on recruiting. She's also an artist, and she's just moved to my town. So how lucky am I? And Nancy's going to talk to you about these cool things. So without further ado, Nancy, over to you.
Thank you, Kathy. Such good points that you made. And I want to see if I can take these next 10 minutes and fill in some more workable thoughts about how to get out there and how to make your network helpful in especially in this job search time. You know, we all hear that unemployment is low and everybody's working. That's not necessarily true as far as having everybody in the right position. So you may be out there looking for work. You maybe have gotten job eliminated because of what happened in the last year with COVID. And boy, can I feel for you, because believe it or not, even though I'm a super networker, I found myself at the other end of not having an opportunity. One of the stories I love to share is a time where I felt like I was my job, and when my job was eliminated, I was kind of wondering, what am I supposed to say now that I'm no longer working? Who am I? And I think when we looked at the points that Kathy made, whether you're currently working or you are most recently a professional doing, you're still a person. You still have all those years of experience. You still have an ability to help each other. You still have an ability to ask for help if you need to, and you certainly have the ability to network. So it's not much different. Networking sounds kind of technical, but actually when you ask somebody if they have any names of people who can come and help you mow your lawn, or if they know where great places to go to dinner, all those things are considered networking. So that's the simplest examples of networking. I hope we do it all the time, and I hope you realize that just making connections with other people and opening up that conversation can help you, and of course you can help others, which is the best way to make a lasting impression, as Kathy said. So there I was. I found myself on the steps of a networking meeting. I was going in, there was two big doors in front of me, and I was no longer working. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? I felt like I had a tin cup in my hand and a cane with a white tip. And I felt like all I needed to do was to go in there and start asking people if they knew of a job that I could do. And I said, that's not right. That's not who I am. If I was here a month ago when I was still working, I would walk right in there and I would be the host and I would make things happen. And I caught myself and I said, what's different? The only thing that's different is I'm not getting a paycheck any longer. I'm still who I am. I still have the experiences I have. I still have the network that I've already created. And I walked into that meeting with a new purpose. And I said, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to help others. And I walked up to people and I said hello and I asked them about themselves. I didn't tell them about myself right off the bat. I asked them about themselves first. Opened up a conversation. I always had an opportunity during that conversation to add in a little bit about myself. If they asked me back, tell me about you. And I would ask them, who are you? Who would you like to connect with? What are your major headaches? Do you know Bob, who's across the way there? I'd love to introduce you to that person. In these conversations, I was making a strong impression because I knew everyone there was for the same reasons. It was called a networking meeting. We all wanted to network, and I made it my point to make it more comfortable for them. And in turn, I was able to make connections with these people and also talk a little bit about myself and what I was looking for. And it just made all the difference in the world. And I collected business cards and names and phone numbers. And I followed up after that meeting, telling them that it was great to meet with them at that meeting, maybe furnishing more names for them, for people to connect with. And then I would ask, who do you know that's in the recruiting world? I would love to be able to talk with some of the people in my business that you may know. I think the hardest thing when people want to help you is understanding, how can they help? What can they do? What do you need? And so it's very important that you let them know what it is that they can do for you. I have people call me all the time at GE and say, hey, I was wondering, could you help me find a job? And that's such a big, broad topic. I have no idea if I can help you or not. My next question is, well, what are you looking for? How can I help you? Well, does GE have anything? And I answer, well, you know what? If you want to go to our website and look through all our careers and, you know, search for the things that you think you're most interested in, first apply online, then let me know what you're applying for. If I can help you get an interview for that, I will. And again, tell me more. Tell me exactly what you're looking for. So know what you need for someone else. When you shake someone's hand and you tell them that you're in the accounting world and you would like to talk with people who have positions as chief financial officers, they'll know in their mind, oh, okay, Rolodex in my mind, who do I know that's a CFO, and see if they can make a connection for you. So make sure you're clear on what it is that you need from that person, and then ask for it or ask them for help to get to that position. If you're a referral, and this goes for almost every company I've worked for, if I ever get an email or if I see it flagged when you apply to the company that you were referred, I'm going to look at your application first. I trust our employees are going to bring us good people. They don't want to work with people they aren't going to stand up for. They're going to bring forward resumes of people that they've worked with in the past, or friends or relatives that they like. And anytime I see that there's a referral, I'm going to go and look at their resume and compare them for the job to see if we want to move forward with an interview. So if you can get a referral, please do. Now, you may find a job possibility and you might say, gee, ABC company. Off the top of your head, maybe you don't know anybody there, but if you go to LinkedIn, if you go to your network and type in, it'll show you who you're connected with that might be part of that company. And it's always great to make a connection saying, hey, Kathy, I see that you're working at ABC. I'm going to be applying for a role, wondering if it would be all right if I used your name as a referral, or could we please talk a little bit about the job, the company? I have some questions and I think you'd be able to help. And once you're on a call or conversation with that person, ask them, can I use your name as a referral? Don't ever use someone's name as a referral if they're not a referring source, though. That's one thing I want to say. I sometimes I'll call and say, hey, I see you referred Kathy, and they say, Kathy who? So make sure you make that connection, even if it's been a long time since you've talked with them. Reach back out to them, let them know that you're going to use them as a referral. If anybody in the higher levels, like sometimes you might think, gee, I just want an accounting job. I don't want to be the CFO. But you know what? If I get a referral from someone in the C-suite and they say, hey, can you take a look at Bob's resume? I'll pretty much bet that's the next thing I'm going to do is go right to Bob's resume and pull it out. Anytime I'm asked by a senior leader or any manager, if they ask me to please pull somebody out, I'm going to go and do that. So even though you might have a referral from someone from a different part of the company, or maybe a level too high that you wouldn't want to work directly for, it's important that you use them as a reference. They're going to get you the eyes on your resume that you need. If you don't have a referral, it doesn't mean you're not going to get looked at, but it does definitely tip the favor for you. And there's a lot of times that you want to talk to people, but you're not actually interviewing for the position. And I call that either an informational conversation or an informational meeting. And that's when you ask for somebody's time. Maybe you want to know more about the industry, maybe more about the company specifically, and you get an opportunity to sit down with someone either through Zoom or face-to-face, let's hope in the future. And what you want to do is have some good questions. What's it like to work in this industry? What are your biggest headaches? How did you get started? What do you see as potential growth? Could you look at my resume? Is my background something that would be a fit for this company? Do you know what areas I should be looking in? Who should I be talking with? I love wrapping up an informational meeting by offering help. Kathy touched on that before, and I think it's so key. What are you looking for? I'm on the information highway here right now, freeway, I'm telling you, hearing about all kinds of job leads and all that. Is there anything I could do to help you? When you ask if you can help someone else and you open that door to networking back with them, that's going to make an even stronger impression on them, and they're going to appreciate that, even if they don't need anything right away. And then do your homework. Please do your homework. When you have the opportunity to talk with a company, make sure you save the job description so that you can go back and read through it before your first phone call. I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I interviewed so many, or I've sent my application out to so many companies. I am not going to look them all up now. I'm going to wait until they call me. Then I'll know they're interested. Then I'll invest the time in interviewing, in doing my research in preparation for the interview. And that's understandable because a lot of times we do apply for things and we never hear back. But in the case that when you do have a call, a first round interview, go do your homework. It can be as simple as just Googling the company and reading the latest investment news, reading less articles on there, looking at their financials, even going onto Google and seeing who else works there, what kind of background do they have. If I was going to be an accountant at GE, I would go to LinkedIn, look up accountants at GE to see what schools do they come from, how long have they been there, what kind of backgrounds do they have. If I knew I was going to be interviewing with Nancy Anton, I would go to LinkedIn and look up Nancy Anton and see what kind of background she has and what schools she's gone to. And do we have any common threads? Do we have any people in common? Prior to meeting with someone, if I do have someone in common on my LinkedIn, it'll tell you whether you're both linked to the same person. I would reach out and say, hey, I have an interview with Kathy next week. What can you tell me about Kathy? It's so much more helpful to gain that information, to understand the company, and it'll help you ask better questions. I remember once I did my homework and I looked at this person that I was interviewing with, and he had been prior with Cisco. And Cisco had their stock fell 2 years prior, and it just really bottomed out. And he was in the finance team at that time. And I remember, even though we weren't interviewing at Cisco, we were interviewing at the next company he was with. I said, yeah, could you explain to me what happened to my stock? And we laughed, and it was an icebreaker. And he knew right then and there that I did my homework. And just with one question, he knew I knew his background, and he knew that I was going to dig in and get the information. So I would be like that on the job. And that's something that's really important. Sometimes you are judged more by what questions you ask than what statements you make about yourself. So keep that in mind. Interviewing is a fun thing to do. Remember, it's a two-way street. You are going out looking for a company to work with, and they are looking for a candidate to hire. Hopefully you can have some good times with it, make it a lot easier with you by tapping into your network and getting a lot of that gray colored up before you walk in, so you know that more about the company, more about the people there, and that will make you a whole lot more comfortable. And so now we have time for questions and answers. So Stephanie, I think I'm going to put it back to you and see if we have anything coming yet.
Yes, we certainly do. The first question is for Kathy. Kathy, how did you become known as America's marketing motivator?
That's a long story, but in essence, my first client gave me feedback when I had the guts to ask her, what value did I create for you when you hired me to do this project? So that, again, I was trying to uncover number 6 in my defining paragraph, my value statement. So what impact do I make? And she gave me the honest feedback. She actually coined it just like this. She laughed and she said, my goodness, you made me do something. You're my butt-kicking consultant. And we all laughed. We had a great time. And then I literally went home and I dreamt about that. And I woke up with the phrase marketing motivator. Maybe I didn't have enough courage to put butt-kicking consultant on a business card. But that is how the marketing motivator came to be. And I realized that that's my secret sauce. That's, I do a lot of other things, but motivating people to action is something that has value. So discovering your value, your impact it's very empowering for you.
Thank you. Nancy, what's your thinking regarding age in the marketplace, and is it alive and well, and how do you overcome it?
I love this question. If you had about 5 more hours, I can give you everything I think about it. One of my biggest pet peeves in this world is when people say, oh, who's going to hire me? I'm so old. Thinking that way is your first problem. If you find yourself making that statement, stop immediately. You are valid. You are a contributor. You can still, if you believe so, you can still be very relevant in this world and a participant. I think there has been age discrimination, of course, in the past, but I think the age discrimination is sparked constantly by the candidate who says things that date them. Back in the day, I have over 30 years experience. Well, we used to. There are so many pitfalls that people step in that open the door to say, and it's a statement, keep looking, I'm not your person. I'm too old, I did it already, I want to rest on my laurels. I want a company that I could just stay with till I retire. I'm tired. I'm scared. I don't think I can do this anymore. All those young people can run circles around me. If you start thinking like that, people are going to believe you. You got to stop. You got to stop, and you got to be relevant. And I have to say that I, over the years, have placed some absolutely fantastic people that were over 65 in careers and positions within corporate America that got back with fantastic reviews and really contributed well. And the only thing they did differently than everyone else was they had a great attitude. And they knew that they could do this job and they could comply. And I'm going to be honest with you, everybody. What you did more than 15 years ago just doesn't matter anymore. You really got to look at your last 15 years and really concentrate on that. That's where your value is. Those are the systems that we now use. Those are the experiences that make a difference. So try to keep that focus when you're explaining who you are and what you did is to the last 15 years. But again, I can go on and on with this, but I'm going to leave some more time for other questions.
Okay, thank you. This question is for both of you. We'll start with you, Kathy, please. What is the best practice for keeping in touch with the network that you have built? What does that look like so you don't lose those connections?
Excellent question. Something we should all be thinking about. The onus of follow-up and staying in touch is ours. And you can distinguish yourself by being a master of follow-up. So you just have to build, again, that skill set and that process. So you have to design that process because if people never hear from you unless you need them, they start to think that you're a taker. So I have both active and passive ways of following up. I will pick up the phone. I will send LinkedIn messages. I will have lunch or coffee with someone. Of course, that takes more time. So I have to save that for people who perhaps I do want to invest in. I do newsletters. I do postings. I share resources. I put people. So there's tons of ways that we can stay in touch. But they've got to hear from you more than once a year. So like a Christmas, Hanukkah card once a year, it's not enough. It's not enough for the people that matter. And I would also say for job seekers, if there's someone in your job search that's been really helpful, when you land, reach out and tell them that you landed. Thank them, even if it was just, it wasn't a direct impact on your success job search. Thank them for their part and their contribution to your learning and transition. And then periodically give them an update when you've been promoted or when they've been promoted, reach out and congratulate them. So the follow-up is, we could have a whole program, Terry Weaver, on follow-up. It is critical and not many people do it well. Nancy, how about you?
Yes, I'm on mute. I wanted to break in on this one, even though I'm supposed to answer the question. I'm going to tell you what just happened. I live in a new development and they are now pouring a foundation across the street from me. They didn't check with me first to find out that I was going to be on a call. And this might happen to you when you're interviewing. And I don't know if any of you noticed what I did is quickly slipped my headset on instead of being on speakerphone, hoping to reduce the noise. Keep my sense of humor about me and say, you know what, things happen sometimes and you just got to roll with it. So please don't let things like this crush you. Please make sure that you can just switch to plan B and explain what happened and keep moving. But it's your responsibility to keep your network alive. And the best way I do it is by helping others. If I see an article. I'm going to post it or send it to somebody that hey, I'm thinking of you, Kathy. You might see this article. I was thinking of you. On LinkedIn, you can easily say congratulations or happy anniversary to people who have passed milestones in their companies. Just stay in touch. Don't go to people just because you need them. Go to people because you want to be a give and take.
Mm-hmm. I would also just add one other thing is that if you can help people at critical times in their life or help people's family members, children get into college, find their job, mentor, they will never forget you. Like I will never forget Judy Rosenthal, who found me my oncologist when I was going through ovarian cancer. And she knocked on my door, brought me flowers and white bean soup, but mostly she said, I can connect you to this incredible oncologist and she'll take care of everything. And she made it happen. Judy probably never has to call me again. I will always love her and do something. So, sometimes you do it naturally. It's the easy things that are so meaningful to people. One other point, if you look behind me, I have a big bookshelf. You might have one too. Sometimes I think I'm a bookkeeper. I buy them and then put them on my shelf. I don't actually read them. I just put them on my shelf. If you take out one of those books that maybe you started or you liked or you've read 1,000 times, you send it to somebody else because it's a good resource. Two good things happen. They get a gift in the mail. They get something that might change their lives. They know you're thinking about them. USPS gets a little extra revenue and you clear out your bookshelf. So back to Nancy's point, there are so many different creative ways that you can be helpful and a resource for somebody and remind them that you are thinking about them.
Thank you. Nancy, would you please again explain the difference between informational conversations and informational meetings?
Okay. And there's another one called informational interviews. So let's go over them quickly. An informational meeting is one that when you've asked somebody to meet with you, talk with you, whether it's a phone call or face-to-face, and you're gathering information in a broad sense about the company, about the industry, about a specific department or cause that the company is working towards, where you're gathering information, but you're not being evaluated specifically for an opportunity. Informational meetings can lead to informational interviews. They, as an example, you may go in, let's say that that IBM is going to hire an accountant and you have a contact in IBM, then you ask for an informational meeting to say, I'm not sure if I'm going to apply for this role or not. And I would love to talk with you more about the company and what is expected so that I can make a good decision on whether I should apply. And that's more of an informational meeting. I call an informational interview. And we've had this problem, not this problem, but the situation recently in our home. One of my daughters was on an interview and she realized during the interview it wasn't the job she wanted. It wasn't a job that she was going to be good at. And she could see that the managers too were realizing that. And so she quickly changed the interview into an informational interview. And she said, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really not a salesperson. I would love to work around this equipment. I would love to be part of this, but I'm not right for this job. But I really enjoy your company. I think there might be other spots for me here. What else should I be looking at? It was funny because nobody usually thinks that way on an interview when it's not going well. Somehow they just keep kicking through, hoping that they're going to make a great impression. And then they hang up and then they cry when they don't get the job. And it's like, but you didn't want it anyway. So it's perfectly fine to say that, say that now that I've gotten a chance to talk with you about this, it seems like a great opportunity, but not for me. Here's what I would like to know more about. Is it possible for you to, and again, changing it from an interview to an informational interview or informational meeting, who else should I be speaking with? What other jobs should I apply for? What are they called in your team? Would you give me an introduction? And it makes such a lasting impression. First, because you just took that person off the hook. Now they don't have to reject you. You've already agreed that it's not right for that role. And secondly, they're impressed that you have the wherewithal to say, there are things I'm good at and there's things that I'm not. There's things that I'm interested in, things that I'm not. And they're going to be more than happy to open the door for you and put you on to another opportunity. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you very much. Well done, ladies. It was an excellent, as always. We have more questions than we have time for. Thank you so much. It was a great, great session. And I'll turn it back over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Claudia, and happy birthday, by the way. And thank you, Kathy and Nancy, for an outstanding presentation. So practical and so useful. I believe that everybody on the call is going to take away more than one golden nugget to help with your networking efforts. Kathy and Nancy have graciously allowed us to share their contact information. Please feel free to reach out to them. Both of them would be great additions to your sphere of influence. So take a look and make note of their contact information. I also want to thank our behind the scenes tech support who make the magic happen. Today, that was Terry Weaver from District 7750 and Claudia Myrtle from District 6900. I want to remind you all that Rotary Works Career Coaching is available to any Rotarian or Rotaractor who would like more individualized mentoring. If you think having a one-on-one coach would be helpful with your career transition, or if you would like to volunteer to become a coach, visit Rotary.works and look for the links in the right-hand column. Our Rotary Works Impact Fund is designed to support Rotarians and Rotaractors with a small grant that can help ease concerns during unanticipated career transitions. Any amount is appreciated, and if you would like to donate, please reach out to me. And finally, you're invited to get involved in our initiative. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me or any member of our Rotary Works team. We're taking a break for the summer. Look for more Rotary Works programs in the fall. In the meantime, you can visit Rotary.works and review any of the 7 programs we've offered since December. Share them with your club and fellow Rotarians or use them as a club program. The ideas, the tips, the techniques that have been shared by our experts over the past few months are invaluable and designed to help you prepare for a better, more challenging, and fulfilling career. Thank you again for joining us today. Have a wonderful summer, and we look forward to seeing you in the fall.